Einstein had the faith that relativity was right. Now, why do you have such a faith? Because it is simple, it is beautiful, and those are the criteria that were more important to him, as in fact to, I think, most scientists. More important than any other criteria one can think of.
I don't think that he was the first scientist to have had the feeling, the belief, that if you can set up a theory that is really beautiful in its simplicity and generality, then there is a good chance that this theory will turn out to be correct. This, I think, was a guiding principle for Einstein, that there is sense and beauty in the physical world.
One of his most important characteristics is that he was unafraid of time. You work on a movie, I work on a physics problem, and when you've been busy for a year and you have not gotten anywhere, you say, well, maybe that was not such a hard idea. Not Einstein. If he had an idea, that was the way he would be, that was the way he would follow, and he couldn't care how long it took.
Albert Einstein was born March 14th, 1879, in Ulm, a small town in southern Germany, to assimilated Jewish parents. Later, he and his sister Maya were raised in Munich. From a young age, Einstein was a rebellious and independent thinker. He instinctively hated the regimentation of the German school system, calling the schools barracks and the teachers lieutenants. At home, he was stimulated more by a free exchange of ideas. His independent readings were not only in science, including his holy geometry book, but philosophy as well. Before he was of conscription age, finding the military posturing of the Germans ridiculous, he obtained a paper for 3 marks that rescinded his German citizenship. At 17 years of age, he was stateless, a young man without a country. He completed his secondary education in Switzerland, where he met his first wife, fellow physics student Mileva Maric. They had 2 sons. Although their marriage would not survive, it was not due to the difference in their religions. For most of Einstein's life, he was a cultural rather than a practicing Jew.
When he was a boy of 6 or 7, there was one year that he was very religious. He followed all the Jewish rites and precepts. And as he told a friend, he would compose songs in honor of God, which he would sing to himself on his way to school. That vanished after about 1 year.
But what did continue in Einstein was a feeling for the ethical codes by which man should live, a striving for peaceful coexistence. He developed an indifference for material things, calling each possession a stone tied round his neck. He wrote, "The commonplace goals of human endeavor, possessions, outward success, and luxury have always seemed to me despicable. In science, he found an escape from what he considered the dreariness of daily existence and a connection with a larger universe."
Napoleon and other great men of his type, they were makers of empire. But there is an order of men who get beyond that. They are not makers of empire, but they are makers of universe. When they have made those universes, their hands are unstained by the blood of any human being on earth. Ptolemy made a universe which lasted 1400 years. Newton also made a universe which has lasted 300 years. Einstein has made a universe, and I can't tell you how long that will last.
Einstein's universe truly began in 1919 when science finally caught up with his theories. Data taken during the solar eclipse measuring the displacement of a star confirmed his predictions of the bending of starlight and the gravitational field of the sun. Einstein's new universe made front-page news around the world, and he became an overnight celebrity. Two years later, while traveling to Japan, Einstein learned that he had been awarded the Nobel Prize in physics. Not for his now famous theory of relativity, but for other work in physics, especially his equation for the photoelectric effect. His theory of relativity was still controversial in the scientific community.
And here he comes, down from the sun tower after a hard morning.
Einstein's face was recognized now all over the world. Everything he did or said became front-page news.
It was very skillful. You had to build up the outside and then put in the inside and then more outside and inside. It was a great piece of engineering. Put that up. This 100-inch reflector was completed about...
Fame gave Einstein a new and powerful political platform. But his personal life had been in crisis. He had divorced Mileva after 5 years of separation and married his first cousin, Elsa, who had nursed Einstein back to health when he was ill in Berlin. Now she cared for Einstein as they traveled around the world. He used the occasions intended to honor him to voice his distrust of militarism, his desire for an international dialogue among scientists, and the need for an international organization of nations. During the First World War, while a professor in Berlin, Einstein had been shocked to find many of his fellow scientists supporting the war, equating German culture with German militarism.
The first time that Einstein made any political public statement was during the First World War, when a very small number of people made a proposal for all intellectuals in Europe to band together to help keep alive Europe's culture. In the course of time, he became what you may call a pacifist. For example, he was a great admirer of Gandhi's ideas of passive resistance. He was very much in favor of people not joining armies of whatever nation. The nature of his pacifism is perhaps best stated in the word supranationalism.
With Mahatma Gandhi, he signed a manifesto against obligatory military service, suggesting that if only 2% of the population of each country refused induction, there could be no armies. But in Germany, everything pointed to armies and war. With his strong belief in the supreme dignity and life of the individual, he was terrified by the mass psychology of fascism. There were threats on his life, which he didn't take too seriously, but he did take Nazism seriously. A group of anti-Semitic physicists dismissed the theory of relativity as an erroneous Jewish theory. 2,000 books were burned outside the Opera House in Berlin. Among the authors were Albert Einstein. He was no longer the illustrious German genius, but a communist, an anti-German, a Jew.